well, moving back in time to when you did Blue Peter, which was between when?
Well, 99 was when I started.
Oh,
and
right.
yes, I did it for 8 years from there. But yeah, magical times they were.
Yeah, you must have been one of the longest running presenters on the program.
Yeah, I was. I was number 28. I remember that. I remember the day I was given my badge.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I had no television experience at all.
Oh, right.
I just randomly turned up in this TV studio, a farmer's son with gymnastical ability who could ride a unicycle and juggle and do all these crazy things. And somehow I was in the Blue Peter studio going, what's this? And the red light came on and...
Oh, yeah. And the red light carries on to shine right now. Yeah. So did you watch Blue Peter when you were young? And what do you remember from watching it back then?
I remember a presenter called Peter Duncan, who was a real kind of action man, really. And I remember vividly watching him do all of the kind of the military assault courses. So it was a really weird moment for me when I was actually doing what I'd watched Peter Duncan do. I used to love all those kind of things, and I did some incredible challenges from the military stuff. So I did a hang gliding world record, which was unbelievable. I lived in jungles and went into the Arctic Circle. But for me, it was always the animal side of things that I used to really love. And Meg, who was my Blue Peter dog, when I was on the show, she was a sheepdog from a neighbouring farm where I got her as a little pup. And because I used to do a lot of sheepdog training when I was younger, and I still do now, I used to love taking her all over the place, and she came everywhere with me, did my dog Meg, and yeah, we had a great time. And the other four presenters, it was, we were really close, and I was really lucky to experience the programme at that time in its history, because foreign filming was so cheap. We used to go all over the world. Honestly, it was just remarkable.
What were some of the highlights of that? Some of the best places that you'd say were the best?
I went to Australia when I just got the job, and it was a summer trip because I was introduced right at the end of the series. And so there was like a summer break, and then over the summer break, we always used to go on this big old summer holiday or a summer expedition. Australia was the first one, and I spent a month touring around Australia, and it was just incredible, diving on the Barrier Reef, Ayers Rock, all of that kind of stuff, and the extreme, the out in the middle of the outback and all of that. I just absolutely loved it. But Africa as well was very, very special, and we used to do Blue Peter appeals every year as well, where our viewers would raise money to try and help, people in the remote parts of the world. And I went out to Tanzania, and we put in water supplies with WaterAid over there. It was life-changing, actually, because I'd never experienced anything like that at all, or living conditions like that. And we were in one of the driest parts of the earth. And I remember meeting a family, and they were so giving, right? They didn't have anything, but what they did have, the smallest thing that they had, they would want to give you, because they were so generous. And every morning they would wake up and they would literally thank the heavens that they'd got through the night and that they were alive. And yet that day they would have to walk for 7 hours to get their water. And until you actually see it, I mean, you kind of hear these things go on, and then you think, well, I'm going to do this trip with these people. And we walked for 3.5 hours to this muddy hole, and the water was green at the bottom of it. And they went all the way down this hole, got the bucket, and then we walked for 3.5 hours back again. And that's what they did every day.
Wow.
And we raised the money, we drilled down, we put in this water supply, and there were taps in that very village when we went back. And to see the change was remarkable, because what happened was, because this place was called Nala, because it had a water supply, the roads got rerouted, and people and industry came to that very place. And to watch that change, to see it happen was, it was like the best thing you could ever wish to witness.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. I will use that in my geography as a geography case study.
Yeah, do.
It's incredible. So, another incredible thing that you received were 2 BAFTAs for presenting Blue Peter. I mean, how did that feel?
Shock. The thing is, you never do it for awards or anything like that. You just try and make good programs. And when programs get recognised, and when you get recognised as a presenter, then it's a wonderful thing. It makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, I suppose. But, for me, all I ever tried to do, especially with Blue Peter, and these days, but I would say more so with Blue Peter, is to be just so incredibly honest with all of the challenges that you face. Because the most letters that I used to get were when I did challenges that I really struggled with. Like I did a high board diving film.
Oh, right.
And it took me ages to dive off the top board. Yeah. And the majority of the film was me just going, I can't throw myself off. I can't, bring myself to do this dive. And the letters that I got afterwards from children who were saying to me that they were going through really difficult times in their life, and it was great to see that other people, in order to overcome their challenges, you just really focus, put the effort in, and if you trust in your own abilities, you can do it.
Yeah.
And so those were the stories that I loved to tell. It wasn't about going, oh yeah, turn up, watch me do this. Great, I'm on telly, boom. It wasn't ever that. It was always, right, let's look at this. What is possible? How do we achieve it? And how do we go forward?
Yeah, it's about being a role model. And you're certainly a role model doing the diving. Very brave, I think.
Yeah. Well, it is, but you're a role model because you're not afraid to show people the reality of life, as opposed to just turning up the whole time and going, yeah, we've got some cameras here and we'll make myself look good. Do you know what I mean? It was never about that for me.
Same with me. This year is the 60th anniversary of Blue Peter.
It is, yeah.
That amazed me, it did. It's been on for so long, since 1958, must have been 1958. So will you be involved at all with the 60th anniversary?
Yeah, I've already started doing interviews for that.
Really?
And because people they're interested in all the different generations of Blue Peter and how it's managed to get through all the different decades that it's gone through, really. And, I think the key with it is that Blue Peter has always kind of stuck to its morals, and it's everything that a child needs, really, from the garden and growing things through to the animal side of things, through to the challenges, which we've talked about, and the arts and crafts and everything. And actually, the trust that parents have with sitting their children in front of something like Blue Peter is really important, and that really is why it's lasted for so long, because so many generations have grown up with it, and that actually now, there's not many programs that you can watch that your mum and dad watched and your grandparents watched, you know what I mean? So it's quite there's a lovely BBC through line with it. That feels good to me.
Definitely. I watched it. Unfortunately, it was a year after you left.
Oh, was it, Tone?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You see, I'm getting to that age now where adults are coming up to me and saying, I used to watch you when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel really old. But it's fine. I don't mind, really.
So you mentioned that you did a lot of gymnastics.
Yeah.
Did that come in handy at all when you attempted Strictly Come Dancing?
It did. Well, as your mum will know, I ended up doing some backflips and somersaults and all this, that and the other to kind of, add a bit of sparkle to my routines. Len Goodman hated it. He didn't like all the flip-floppy bits, which is what he used to call them. But sometimes you've just got to go for it, you know what I mean? Whatever you can do, just bang it in there and see what happens. But, to be honest with you, that kind of style of training took me back to how it used to be in the gym, because, that kind of repetition and that there was a very short amount of time to learn the routines. So really you never learned to dance as such, you just learnt a routine. And it was incredibly intense, and especially as it got further and further towards the final, you had to do more and more routines in that week. But it was great fun. It really was great fun. And that was like nearly 8 years ago now. 2010.
And what was that final like? Can you take me through that final?
Well, it was stressful, very stressful, because of, again, we had 4 routines to do in a week. And the thing was, I was doing the one show on Countryfile at the same time, so it was like it was hard work to try and do everything in the time that I had available. So it was really stressful. I remember just thinking the whole time, the route, put my foot there, put my arm there, put my leg there. I wouldn't say it was enjoyable at all. It was really scary. It was always sad as well when you lost a fellow competitor, especially when you got to that point, because everyone was working really hard and everyone was doing everything they could to try and get as far as possible. And so you did feel bad when you knocked somebody out. So yeah, it was mixed emotions really. And then I heard the result as it came in, and Cara Toynton had won with Artem, and if I'm honest, I didn't mind at all, because I'd done all the dances that I wanted to do. I'd got to the final. I came second, and at the end of the day, it was over. But it was like it was a quarter of a year that I'd been doing it for by the time you get to the end.
That's a long time.
So you're pretty tired.
Yeah. I was talking to Jeremy Vine about when he did Strictly Come Dancing, and he was exhausted at the end of all of it.
Yeah.
It's a very tiring experience.
Yeah, it is, yeah like physically and mentally. And there's a lot of people, like, you know, a lot of the public are really interested in it as well. So you're more in the spotlight, which again is tiring. So, yeah.
So moving on now, you have your own farm in Durham, I found out. Is your farm a way of getting away from the stress of presenting and Strictly Come Dancing when you did it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, actually, my kind of countryside life is what I grew up with, and it's what I know, and that's more me than all of the telly stuff, really. And so I have a very rural existence. I mean, when I come into London, into the studio, and like I say, I get in for around lunchtime, but all my mornings are spent outside working. So yeah, we've got a sheep farm up in Durham. We also have, within the family, we have arable, we have cows as well. I've got sheep not too far away from here, from where we are. So I'm constantly keeping my hand in there, which is very important. It also helps, you know, obviously with my Countryfile work as well, which sees me go off all over the place around Britain too. I'm incredibly passionate about that. But for me, is it an escape? It's more of my life than this is, to be fair. So I wouldn't do this if I couldn't still live in the countryside. It means that I spend a lot of time travelling to work. But you know,
very similar to me. I like the countryside. I have a really big passion for it. Protecting the environment, making people aware of the issues that are happening in our environment right now, such as the plastic, and improving biodiversity in farmland, which came up recently in the news, I think. Are you taking any actions to increase biodiversity in your farms?
Yeah, well, we're organic, and we've always farmed with wildlife in mind, and we do a lot of work for wildlife on our farms, and we always have done, really. And so we're not really, as far as the chemical side of things are concerned, we are very low impact. And so we have, you know, sheep, you know, they're low grazing anyway, you know, low impact as far as that's concerned. And we're a hill farm. And so with that in mind, there's not much really you can, you know, you've got to farm it very naturally, which is something that we've always done. And we have wildflower meadows, we have ancient hay, and, you know, beautiful old, wonderful wildflowers and herbs within all the hay that we make. And for us, that's what's important. And I think you can taste the difference in the meat.
We buy free range, and there's definitely that difference. It's a lot better than the factory stuff. So moving